You did something very interesting with Star Wars, if you think about it. The good guys are the rebels. They're using asymmetric warfare against a highly organized empire. I think we call those guys terrorists today. We call them Mujahideen, we call them Al-Qaeda.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly. So were you thinking of that at the time?
Yes.
So it was a very anti-authoritarian, very kind of 60s against the man kind of thing, nested deep inside of a fantasy.
Or a colonial, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Right.
And we're just a bunch of hayseeds in coonskin hats that don't know nothing.
That's right.
I'm not really much of anybody in the toy tube space. I have a smaller platform, about 4,000. Thank you very much to everyone that subscribes and watches. And, I mostly talk about toy content. But since November of last year, I decided it was important to use my voice in my small platform to put a focus on the things that are wrong in America right now. And that's not to say just America, Palestine, what Israel is doing, all that stuff. And the fact that some people think that nerd spaces are not meant for that is pretty asinine, in my opinion. What have you been watching and reading this whole time? The first issue of Captain America, he was punching fascists in the face on the front cover. The X-Men, they're an allegory for the civil rights movements, for the oppressed, for people that are othered and minoritied by the powers that be, by regular people who like to see differences and use that to hate people. Star Wars, if you watched it in 1977, there was a lot of parallels going on. And if you watched that and thought, oh, the stormtroopers are the Viet Cong and the rebels are the American troops, you are watching a different movie than everyone else. And that fact still stands today. Star Wars has always been relevant because of the relevancy of what is happening in that film. A smaller group of rebels are fighting against the larger powers that be of oppression. And I feel like as someone who is part of a group, a trans woman, I have to use my space to speak about politics. And then you have the other side of it that say, oh, you should leave politics out of this. You should blah, blah, blah. And it's like the people that say that are the stormtroopers. Those are the people that the X-Men are always fighting against. The people holding up the sign that say, muties, muties, we hate you, and stuff like that. Those people do not understand what nerd culture is about. It was formed in protest. It was formed as activism. Many of the original Marvel Comics creators, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, they fought in World War II. They brought those ideals that they did, which is fighting fascism, back to their work. And, that's always been the case. It's always been the case. So the fact that there's people that think that they can dictate what people should use their platform for and when politics should apply or how they should protest, which is like with toys and action figures, if that's your space, if that's your platform, use it how you want to use it. Don't dictate how others are, because you know what? People that try to dictate others' lives are the oppressors. They're the bad guy. And that's the thing about this stuff is accountability is important. You can hold me accountable for my words just like I can hold you accountable for your words. There's some stuff I've said that people don't agree with. There's some people that have been in that group that have said some absolutely horrendous things. And it's also about who you platform, who you bring onto your show, what you allow them to say, what you tolerate, because it says a lot more about you than the person there, because you're just letting it go. You're just like, oh yeah, that's funny. It's kind of cringy, kind of awful, but I'll let it go. And the fact that you would put subscribers or views or any of that stuff over morals and ideals and standards is a little sad. It's a little embarrassing, and it's a little bit just all those things. I think that, in my opinion, America is in its last stages of democracy. Not that we were ever a fully free and open nation, just because of the way that gay people, black people, trans people, Mexican people, Hispanic people, all the groups that aren't straight white Christian evangelicals have been treated consistently. We're just not where we need to be. Where the founding fathers wanted this country to go. We're not there. So the fact that people think that they can say, oh, look at these libtards, which, people don't understand the difference between a liberal and a leftist either. If you're calling a bunch of people that are activists and out protesting in the streets liberals, you probably need a history lesson on politics and ideals and all that stuff, because I don't identify as liberal. I don't identify as a Democrat. I'm a leftist. That's how it is. And for me, voice-based comic books, it was all started with left-leaning ideals. Maybe not the toy space, but the connections that you get, like Marvel, Star Wars, even G.I. Joe and Transformers. You know, those things all leach out into political ideals. Like, I'm not calling anybody out anymore. That's done. I've said my piece. But I want people to know, if you have a platform and you have a voice and you want to say something, it is your right as an American, in this country at least. You know, other countries, there's different things and there's different things people are worried about and have to deal with. But in America, we have the First Amendment right. And the fact that people are practicing that on the streets and getting shot and ended for it is absolutely abhorrent. It is not what this country was founded on. And if you think that's okay, you're the stormtrooper. You're the mutant hating hate mob. You are the very thing that comic books started to fight against. So I just want to say all that. Like, why are you trying to tell people what to do with their platform? You can't. You shouldn't. But what you should most definitely do is call out hatred, call out racism, call out bigotry. Because when people use their platform for that, it does not lead to a better community. And the fact that these people want you to remain silent about that stuff and just be like, oh, I'll let that go. And it's a two-way street, you know. You can say what you want. You can say whatever you want on your platform. But hold yourself accountable when people get upset by it. Hold yourself to a higher standard than the person you're platforming. If they're saying something you disagree with, let them know. Let your audience know. Shout it out. Say, hey, look, they said a bunch of stuff. And even cut them off. Just say, like, hey, we're going to stop that. We're not going to talk about that. But people won't do that. They'll put their views over their ideals, if those are their ideals. And if they agree with what they're saying, then you know what? You could do that. But don't expect people to not call it out and stick around for your content. The same way, like, if you don't like when someone is being political in their content, whether it be left-leaning or right-leaning, you can just turn it off. But I'm tired of the double standards in the community. Oh, we shouldn't bring politics into the community unless it agrees with me. I'm going to call you a snowflake, not knowing what that word means, which it was originally founded for. Abolitionists would call slave owners that. They'd call them snowflakes. People that were pro-slavery, they would call them snowflakes. That is where that term started. And then it was adopted into Fight Club to represent the very people that I'm talking about. The whining little babies who think that only their viewpoint should be platformed and validated and all that stuff. So, like, that's really all I have to say. Keep your head up. Stay brave. Be kind to all minorities, not just your LGBTQ community, but be kind to everybody. Even those you don't like. Try your best. And, you know, when that doesn't work, throw them away. If you're protesting, for the love of God, please be safe. Please. You see what's happening. I love y'all. I will see you next time. And bye-bye. My lips are so dry. It's so cold out.
Return to
Found a mythical Walmart end cap.
Ah, Morty, you're still watching this crap, isn't this? To review figures and toys and stuff. Aren't you a little old for toys? Ah, jeez, Rick, you know, I don't think you should call her a bitch, and I kind of like her videos, so maybe you should shut the up. Q, Morty. Q.